Hello guys, thank you for joining me here today. And you see I am not using my camera, I'm using a microphone, and that is because I've just seen my camera is really really horrific. My microphone is bad, but again I want to get the message out of God. Um, and today I'm going to talk about atheism and why atheism is evil belief. Number one, it's untrue, it's unfounded. There is literally no evidence for it, and people just listen to atheists, like atheist scientists, and sit there and say God's not real, God's not true. This is why, this is why, this is why, and they won't even sit there and criticize it. They won't sit there and scrutinize it, and it's so wrong. I sit there all the time and scrutinize my belief, not because I want it to be wrong, but I want to know the truth. So I'll sit there and scrutinize my belief, and I'll go out to the world and hear their beliefs, and it just doesn't make, their belief doesn't make sense. And it's not me not being open-minded, it legitimately does not make sense. Once you know the truth of God, there is no way that evolution can be true. I mean, think about it. I'm probably going to go off on a rant here, but I don't want to. But anyway, science, or evolutionary science I should say, teaches that the Big Bang happened, and there is no evidence of the Big Bang, number one. And number two, it's completely illogical. And if it's not observable, it's not science. If it's not testable, it's not science. And if it's not repeatable, it's not scientific. It's a complete theology. And theology is surrounded in logic, and you have to base it on logic alone, your logical mind alone, to be able to scrutinize whether it's true or not. Otherwise, I mean, it just makes no sense, and you still believe it. So think about this. Okay, there's two doctrines of how we came. There's God, and then there's not God. And majority of people believe in majority of people who believe there's no God believe in the atheism theory of the Big Bang. And here's what they'll say, and some will say a little bit different, just because it does not make sense. And yeah, they won't say this, but this encases their whole belief system around how we came to be. In the beginning, there was nothing, and it blew up. It makes no sense. And then there's other atheists who say that there was a spectre of a particle, and that encased the whole universe. Well, if that's the case, number one, how did other particles not encase the whole universe? How have we not seen another universe being born from a particle? It was apparently so small, like pinhead size, and that encased the whole universe. How have we not seen other universes blow up in our own Earth in the millions and trillions of years that they say we've been around for? Because if that's the case, if a spectre of particle can encase the whole universe, then every other particle has to has to have the capability of blowing up and creating more universes inside of our own universe, which would make our universe a multiverse. How have we not seen it? We don't see it. There is no case for evolutionary theories. And then they'll talk about evolution, and again, no case. You cannot tell me one animal that has been through macroevolution. Micro is different. Microevolution is the adaptation of an environment. That's like I'll give you an example, like a bacteria adapting to a medicine so it won't die. That's an adaptation, not a macroevolution. It's a microevolution. No serious creationist would doubt that, because it happens. It's just an adaptation of a certain environment. It's like I'll give you an example. If I was to drink a little bit of poison each day, and then eventually just keep on upping my dosage, I'd eventually be immune to that poison. If I'm also a gas. If I have a tiny bit of gas that is poisonous, put into my body every day, and I up the dosage, eventually I'll be immune to that gas. That's an adaptation of an environment, not an evolution. Microevolution is just another name for adaptation, and I use adaptation rather than microevolution because that encases a whole idea of microevolution. It's an adaptation of a certain environment. So it's not a macroevolution, changing from one type of animal to another type of animal. You have never seen an elephant change into a mouse. You don't see it around the earth, and you cannot give me evidence for it happening. You can't give me interchangeable species. And when they try to give us interchangeable species, we completely reverse it and say, look, it's not. And scientific evidence shows it's not an interchangeable species. It's just another sort of species. They say that, well, our genome matches almost perfectly with the ape genome. We have, I'm not too sure how many. Humans have 46 chromosomes, and gorillas, chimpanzees, apes have 48. So it's pretty much similar. Which, if you're going by that, then we came from hares, or we came from rabbits, because they're not too much off. In fact, they're the same amount off as gorillas and chimpanzees. So that's ridiculous. And to say that we are made by hares or something like that is completely ridiculous. And so why is it okay to say we're made from apes? Like I don't get how chromosomes can prove that we come from a certain species. That means we come from rabbits and hares and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, it just would. And you wouldn't say that we come from hares, but yet you would say we came from apes. I just think, hang on, I just think that's ridiculous. I think it is. I am searching up stuff too, so that's why you can hear the clicks as well. Or if we're so relatable through chromosomes, we should be related to tobacco, right? Because they have 48 chromosomes. Like, it makes no sense, and it hurts my head. What about rats or hamsters? We're very close to them. Like, it's just laboratory rats have 42 chromosomes. Laboratory mice have 40 chromosomes. Syrian hamsters have 44 chromosomes, and humans have 46. So we could come from Syrian hamsters, or we could come from rabbits, or we could come from laboratory mice, or laboratory of rats. It's just, what about guppies? We have only 2 off of guppies. Like, it's ridiculous. Do we come from guppies? I don't think we come from guppies. And that is a ridiculous argument because that's completely unfounded. What about so if you're going by that, we could come from tobacco, cultivated tobacco, I should say. We could come from laboratory mice, rats, hares, laboratory rats, rabbits, Syrian hamsters. I think the best answer is that we come from humans with 46. In fact, we're very close to guppies with perfectly 46. Guppies have exactly the same amount of chromosomes. So that's completely an inaccurate analysis of chromosomes. Just because you have the same chromosomes as somebody or some other animal does not mean that you're the same. I think it is a complete insult to human people to say that we're apes. Have you not seen that they throw around their poop at each other? What about hamsters? I think that's completely a complete insult. Saying that we just run around needlessly all of our lives. Or to say we're guppies, which is a complete insult. To say we are forgetful and that kind of stuff. Complete insult. What about rats? Well, that's a complete insult. Especially laboratory rats. It's a complete insult. What about laboratory mouse? Where does this end as well? Where does the spectrum end? At 2? Or does it end at 100? Like, does it end at the sense of 100 chromosomes different? Because if that's the case, then we're the same as rye, or maize, or Ilkham wheat, or durum wheat, bread wheat. So, the same as the common fruit fly, guppy, earthworm, pill millipede, a Tibetan fox, a domestic cat. Where did it stop? Elephant, donkey. I mean, that's a complete insult in itself. Dog, a hedgehog, a kingfish, a goldfish, a silkworm, a horse, a cow, a sheep, a pigeon, a chicken. It doesn't matter. I don't even know what this thing is, but Trypanosoma brucei. We're the same as that. In fact, the only thing on this list that I'm seeing right in front of me we're not the same as, if that's the case, is an Atherton fern. And again, with this spectrum end, because if it ends at 1,200, then we're exactly the same as them. Like, where does that spectrum end? Does it spectrum end at 46? Difference. That means we're the same as anything anyway that is anything from 0 chromosomes, or 1 chromosome to, I should say, anything from 1 chromosome to about 92 chromosomes. Which again, that's a common fruit fly, a guppy, an earthworm, a pill millipede, a Tibetan fox, a domestic cat, a laboratory mouse, a rabbit, a hare, a gorilla, or a chimpanzee, an elephant, a donkey, a dog, a hedgehog, a guinea pig, a garden snail, a domestic pig, a laboratory rat, a Syrian hamster, a human, which we are related to humans, I hope we are anyway, otherwise we are aliens, a domestic sheep, cow, horse, or silkworm. We are related to domestic pigeons and chickens, and we are related to, again, I don't know what this thing is, and Arabidopsis thaliana with 10 chromosomes, rye with 14, maize with 20, elkcorn wheat with 14, durum wheat with 28, bread wheat with 42, cultivated tobacco with 48, Atherton fern with no, we're not the same as that, no way. Well, we could be, because that spectrum has no end. Like, I don't get how having a similar genetic makeup to something makes us come from that thing. How do we go from having 0 chromosomes as well to having 46? Because apparently we were made up in from literally no life. So we had no chromosomes. It's ridiculous. I don't understand your logic. And when you say about the Big Bang, like I just don't understand your logic. I'm sorry. That is why I moved from atheism to Christianity. Because to start off with, it wasn't that it made more sense. It was that a Christian answered more. But I still wasn't a Christian as such. I didn't give myself over to the Lord. I just said I believed in a God. And that was it. And I didn't really care if there was a God or not at that time. The time I started to care was when I started to actually find out information about it. And find out the science behind God. And find out actual science behind God. And not mainstream science behind God, but actual science behind God. I mean, there's dinosaurs around today. We look at dinosaurs like alligators, crocodiles, ganals, or I don't know how to say that word, ganals. Or you look at other things like the Komodo dragon, Komodo dragon. You look at stuff like that, and you see dinosaurs around. Why wouldn't we believe that the Loch Ness monster? Because no one's ever seen them. Well, I think there's actually no proof of that. In fact, there's 144 people roundabout, I think, that have witnessed him. I mean, I think one or two of them would be telling the truth. At least 144, and I could be wrong about that number, but I remember 144 was a number about the Loch Ness. Again, I could be wrong. It could be more. I know it was at least 144 sightings of the Loch Ness monster. At least 144. So for you to sit there and say, well, there's no evidence for it, is actually there's scientific evidence. If you want to scrutinize science to the point of what is science, it's observation. That is the whole meaning of science. And if people are observing this Loch Ness monster, it is real. What about Bigfoot? There's more than 144 sightings of Bigfoot. I believe that's real too. I believe they are a lot more intelligent than what they put off. But I mean, look at not everybody sees them, and in fact, there are people who think if you see it, you're crazy. They must be smart in some aspect to be able to hide from you and make us be against people who see them. Again, observation is science. People are seeing it. It's scientific fact. If you're going by observation alone, which you should be. That is what science is. It's observation. If you observe it, it must be real. And in fact, if hundreds of people are seeing it and describing exactly the same thing, that is 100% real. I think it was 500 to 5,000 people. Don't quote me on that. I have sadly not read all of the Bible, but there's so much to read, and I am very prone to get distracted, as you've seen. There was 500 to 5,000 people who witnessed. It was maybe 500 who witnessed the ascension of Jesus. They actually witnessed him after his death. 500 people. And if you take away those 500, anyway, there's 12 people who've seen him. Who died for the fact that they've seen him after death. I mean, if they were lying about that, I mean, they must have a blimmin' good reason to lie about it. Because about all of them were persecuted. In fact, John was dipped in oil. I think if I'm going to be dipped in oil and be killed in oil, number one, I'm going to confess that I lied if I lied. Number two, he had to live with those oil scars after, and then he had to go to the Isle of Patmos after that, because it was too dangerous to have around. He was preaching the word of God, and people were following him. So he went to the Isle of Patmos. In fact, there's evidence that once he came back from the Isle of Patmos, he had to once he came back from the Isle of Patmos, he went and for the rest of his life lived in Ephesus. Like, I don't get this speculative science. It's not science. Multiverse is not science. Just because a scientist say that it is, it isn't. Science is an observation. I'll just go to the definition of science. Science is the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of structure and behavior of physical and natural world through observation and experiments. And the experiments are the only things you can experiment with. You can't experiment with something like the Bigfoot. You can't experiment with that. Observation has to come and play there. You can't experiment with history. Observation has to come and play there. You can't experiment with dinosaurs because it's just unreliable. Even they've said that even scientists have said that yes, we trust in something that's unreliable. Not in those words, but they might as well have. They say that after 4,000 years, which I think is actually completely and utterly relative, C14 dating, which is carbon dating, is completely unreliable. In fact, after 4,000 years, we have no idea how old something is. They've said that. That goes along with radioisotope dating and everything. Because with all of them, you have to realize, you have to understand, number one, the condition that thing was in before you you can date it. You have to know that. You have to, and if they're only assuming that it was healthy, 100% healthy, then that's completely irreliable. They have to know the age of that thing before it was dead. Again, they can't. It's impossible to know the age. Number one, you didn't know what they looked like. Number two, you didn't know their bone structure. It is completely 100% reliable to know anything about dates due to biological experimentation. It's impossible. You cannot do it. It's impossible. And anyone who says it's impossible is scientifically void and just wants to believe there's no God. Because it's not possible to date something. Unless you're having the assumption that it died at 86 years old and it was in good health. You cannot date something like that. And if you do, you're irreliable and you should not be a scientist. Especially if you're a biological scientist. Most physicists who study the universe or astrologists or whatever you call them, I don't even know what you call them, and who study astrology, completely and utterly irreliable, because they sit there and they say, well, the evidence is there for a God. Most of them, anyway, say the evidence is there for a God. Even Stephen Hawking believes in the evidence that is there for a God. It says, he says, yes, it looks like there's a God, but actually there's a multiverse. So that's how. But again, that's speculative science, and speculative science has no room. I have no room for speculative science. I only have room for scientific analysis. Now, God won't reveal himself. He won't say, hey guys, I'm here. Because God still wants you to have faith, some sort of faith in him. I don't think it's ever going to get to the point where we 100% know if there's a God or not. They're still going to need some faith. I always said to Christians when I was an atheist, well, why doesn't God just reveal himself, and then that'd be the end of the conversation? And they'd say, we don't know. But I do as a Christian. I know why. But that's only he does that because he still wants some faith. It's through faith we are saved, and not works like sending man birth post. It's not through people knowing that we are saved. If we all knew, I just don't. Yeah, I don't see where the room and the room for faith would be. Jesus said to the disciples, how blessed would people be who believe without seeing? It's not meaning that we're all going to be dumb and we don't know that there's God and that kind of stuff. And he's not saying that I'm going to remove all evidence for my being here. No. But he's not going to just reveal himself to people and just say, look, I'm God. Just follow me. I believe after he left and ascended, he didn't come back. I believe that people may see visions of him. I don't take away visions at all. But anyone who says I've seen God or seen Jesus, number one, there has to be a few attributes. What did he look like? What did he look like? And if they can't describe to me what he looked like, which I know what he looked like, and I'm not going to sit here and say what he looked like because otherwise, otherwise then you would sit there and be able to tell me exactly what he looked like in your vision, in your supposed vision. I don't sit there and believe that anyone who, if they can sit there and tell me the attributes of him, the absolute attributes of him, then I will completely believe them. One of them, just to give you a little bit of a clue, is white here. Completely white here. Alright, thank you guys for being so patient and watching my show if you did. But I'll see you next time. But until then, stay safe guys, and as always, Amen.